this morning. Grace Fellowship Church, we have Pastor Phil Taylor. Phil, good to see you this morning. Thanks for coming in.
Luke, thank you for having me.
Busy guy, lots going on at the church.
Yeah.
And you have a big event happening this weekend, a night in Bethlehem. It's the live nativity that's going on that everybody talks about every year. 15th annual?
15th.
Wow.
Going strong, and it's just been an incredible run of just seeing this thing grow and seeing the community embrace it.
Well, first, let's just say that it's taking place Friday, December 2nd, Saturday, December 3rd, between the hours of 6 p.m. and 9 p.m., so that's when you can come through. Phil, you always stand at the end thanking everybody for coming through, and you've seen it all. You've seen smiles, you've seen tears, you've heard it all, people just praising the amount of effort that went into it, because it's not just, let's just set this building up, let's just get some volunteers to, do this or do that. There's a lot of work that goes into it, a lot of detail. Kind of give us a rundown. When do you start preparing for this?
So we have our initial conversations usually sometime in August, and that's really more of an information gathering time. We are just trying to figure out what worked, what maybe would need to be changed or upgraded or something like that. And
Is there a wrap-up meeting at the end?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so you do have notes, so it's not like trying to remember back to December, right?
Right. Yeah, we usually have kind of like a debriefing. Okay, let's have we try to make it quick because by that time it's been like 5 months of things going on, and so we.
And there's other things happening in December. In case
yes.
You don't know. Yeah, exactly.
Yes, there's still a lot in front of us, but we just meet briefly, and then we revisit those notes in August, and we've I believe this year we have completely phased out anything that would be considered original. Not that the building is gone, but it got rebuilt. And so we had original slap wood and all this kind of stuff for, say, like we'll use, for example, like the Carpenters area. Well, that building now has been rebuilt. Nothing's too much older than maybe 8 or 9 years at this point. So it's things like that. We've gotten better with our storage. Things used to just kind of sit out in our field and which was kind of cool. It got weathered and it looked it looked kind of beat up, and that was cool. But we work on things like that. We've over the years, I know there's a number of people that have come almost every single time, and so they themselves they recognize even small changes that we make. We added a pretty significant Roman wall, probably about 6 or 7 years ago, and that was huge. And one of the things that we kind of balance with this is we're fully aware that we're not a historical society, as far as what we're presenting, but we want to be as close to the time period as possible. And the Roman wall is probably one thing that is a stretch. I doubt there was something like that as you were going into Bethlehem, but more of the concept, it would be almost like this map is not to scale.
Right.
Because at some point there would have been a place when you were entering the Roman occupied area, and it's very likely you would have passed through some type of checkpoint.
Okay.
And so that's what the idea behind that is that not so much here's how you would enter Bethlehem. It's more like you're a traveler that's on a journey, because remember, they're all responding to Caesar Augustus has issued a decree, everyone to return to their hometown to be taxed. So there would have been an upscale of military presence and that type of thing. And so that's why we represent it the way that we do.
And you also get that feeling, though, when you enter. I mean, it's right away. It's kind of like, oh wow, okay, Roman soldiers are everywhere,
Yep.
and you kind of get a sense of the conditions that those folks were living in.
Yes, and that's what is very clear even through the scriptural account, is that the Roman presence was an annoyance to the people of Israel. I mean, they were occupied, and so it's just kind of been interesting to see, even with some of our members that have horses, and so we got Roman soldiers on horseback. a couple of years ago, somebody donated these true to life metal Roman helmets, and they weigh like 2.5, 3 pounds. I mean, they're just this big metal. It could even weigh, I don't think it weighs 5 pounds. That'd be heavy, but it's like this solid helmet. And then you put that on a 6-foot tall person that's sitting on a horseback, and now you've got the representation of what's going on. So that part is huge.
Yeah. Even and when you're sitting in your car and you're looking up, I mean, it is very intimidating, and you get again a good sense of what that must have felt like.
Yeah, and one thing that we did early on is it's very typical. You see it on the greeting cards and all of that, where the wise men are at the stable. That is scripturally inaccurate. The wise men didn't come until he was almost 2 years old. Oh. And so what we did with ours is we had the wise men there because that was the scene that everybody's familiar with. But shortly after that, it might have been even the second year, we put the wise men, when it was smaller, we put the wise men just away from it. Well, now we've got it so the wise men aren't even inside Bethlehem. And they're still on their journey following the star. Wow. And so that part of it, I think, helps people kind of get a better picture of even this thing. The event of the birth of Christ scripturally is huge, but I think that sometimes what people forget is that there was a contingency of people that it was a 2 or 3 year process for them by the time they actually got to see the Jesus.
Wow.
And so we depict that way too with our live camel.
How do you get a live camel?
Yeah.
He'll be back this year?
Yes. Yep. We've got a really good relationship with him. It's not cheap, but that's not the point.
Right.
And the camel lives in Ohio, and there was some kind of this is a number of years ago. There was some kind of some kind of animal disease thing that was a question of, and so the camel got cleared with whatever was going on. I don't know, but we've had a camel. And at one point we had 2, not that we had them at the same time, but what they would do is they would bring one night and then one another night. Oh. But now this guy, he comes in, he actually drives all the way home and comes back.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, yeah, it's incredible. And people come from all over every year to visit. I mean, they'll travel a good hour, 2 hours to come and see this.
Yes, and sometimes how that happens is, believe it or not, I mean, you guys are from around here, Route 8 is actually more of an artery than people realize.
Sure.
And so our church is on Route 8. And for a number of years, there were people that were traveling from like the Grove City area or coming up from Clarion or something, and they were going to Erie.
Wow.
And they see this thing going on. They're like, I turned around at Walmart and came and got in line. I was on my way to do this thing or that, or I'm on my way home from something. And that person has come back like a number of times.
Yeah.
And they're from somewhere south of 80, and they pack up and they come. We have people that come from Youngstown. Erie is a big draw too. Jamestown, New York, people come down.
Excellent.
So just a couple tips for you. Use the restroom before you get in line. Expect to wait a little bit.
Yes.
It is well worth it. And it goes by pretty quickly. You know what the other thing it does? Is if you're in there with family or friends and you're sitting there in the car waiting, that's a good time just to have a great conversation.
I have heard that, Luke, and one thing I've heard people say too is while you're in line, sometimes the line is so long that it's double back on itself, and you're passing friends and neighbors, and people like rolling down the window and they're chatting and they're talking with people.
Yes.
And that aspect is something that is a byproduct of it that we could have hey, I know what we can do. Let's have a line so long that people talk, you can't plan for those kind of things, but it's a beautiful opportunity for people to just connect with somebody they haven't seen maybe for a while.
Yeah, it really is amazing. Going back to the preparation, you mentioned August, you start having the conversations, but I would imagine there's so many elements that are involved in this process that you have so many members in the church that might have specialty talents that everybody kind of gets to utilize their talents in a different way. Mm-hmm. So maybe you got somebody who's great at the costume design or sewing. There's something there. The carpentry work. There's something there. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's performance. I mean, there's something for everybody almost here.
Yes, we have an angel choir that has 12, 13, 15 people, and they're rotating. When it comes to different gifts and talents, something that we never expected when you're doing something like this, it really helps to have an electrician. We've got everything spotlit so that you can see it when you go by. That was something that kind of was a hello, on certain times you can't see. And so we used to borrow lanterns from the Historical Society. And we used to light the whole thing with these lanterns. Well, a lantern with a little,
right.
Where you can't see anything. And one time, somebody had a great idea of using spotlights. Well, the first couple years that we did that, we were flipping breakers in our building because we had so much. There are these 150, 200 watt construction lights, and you turn 20 of those on in your parking lot.
Yeah,
there's not too many breakers, and so an electrician is a part of our church body, and he and another gentleman they ran electrical work all through our parking lot, and now we have these posts that stick up, and they're dedicated electric, and that was installed because of the live nativity. I mean, and we do not use them for anything else.
That's incredible.
I mean, what would we use it for?
Exactly.
And so it's that kind of stuff. You never know. And you're right. We've got people sewing. We've got people, with their vocal abilities. We have people. Construction is amazing. We have about 3 to 4 people that just really have an eye for what it is that we're trying to do. And you can't teach that or replace that. You just have somebody just has to be able to walk around and kind of get your heart for it.
Yep.
And so everything.
I want to ask you about that part in just a second, but let's do this real quick. You're watching the Morning Drill on Stream Television and on Armstrong's Neighborhood Channel, listening to it on the Allegheny News Talk Sports Network. I would imagine you probably have seen some folks that come to church weekly, but because of this, there's a spark that just says, you see them do something that's maybe out of their comfort zone, or step up and take charge of something, or get excited about that. But have you found that it has also led others to maybe open the Bible a little bit more and do some research and say, hey, I read this, and maybe we should incorporate this somehow? Yeah,
there's that's definitely, even when I was sharing about the wise men, we want to be representing Scripture as purely as we can, and kind of get away from, well, this is how people are used to seeing it. We wanted it to be, because a lot of it is really laid out nicely for us in the Gospel of Luke, and so it's easy to kind of look through it. But yes, people, even when it comes down to the prophecies, even what we do in the parade, it is thought through. What the prophet is saying, that's walking in the parade, and the soldiers as they respond, all of that, we thought through that, and we did that intentionally. And so it piques people's curiosity, and that's my hope, even for anybody who's even driving through, is this is something I want to know a little bit more about, is our hope. It's never been. We don't even hand out literature on our church. You don't come through the end and get an invite to Grace Fellowship Church. What you get from us is, we thank you. We hope that your family has a wonderful Christmas, and here's some information on what it means to be a follower of Jesus Christ, and that's what we do. And I am just so blessed to be able to say that that's always our end game, is to see people just want to be closer to the Lord.
Yeah, and here's footage of that. That's just, again, the amount of detail just in that, as you're saying, Phil, is incredible. It seems like everybody has their own interpretations of the Bible, right, and passages. Do you see that when people are going through at the end? Do they say, "Hey, that was nice, but what, why did you do this?" Or does it say this? Does anybody ever challenge you?
No, nobody challenges. A handful of people that are being observant will take note of the things that we've done that can be found in Scripture. And so that's an interesting question, because nobody has ever wondered why we did something. They've always said, I appreciate that you removed the wise men from the stable.
Yeah.
Appreciate the presence of the Roman military, that type of thing. It's the angel in the field is a huge part of it too, because it's when you're in line, you can almost, we try to obscure the view, but you can't. I mean, you see that angel for almost 45 minutes by the time you get to it, and so and you can see it from the road, and so that is a huge aspect of what happens scripturally too, but that part of it people comment on.
Before we come back and kind of recap what's going on this weekend, some other things that have happened at the church or will be happening. Operation Christmas Child did a delivery already of those. And
yes.
That's another project where, again, you get everybody involved.
Yes, and we started that in March.
Wow.
Yeah, and the thinking behind that were the people that took that on, they realized that you can get things throughout the whole year as different sales come by, or because we focus on different elements that go in the box. So instead of like a month before saying we need paper and pencils and erasers and all these kind of things, what they do is for an entire month they feature an element that's going in the box. Okay, this month, if you're shopping and you see some pencils, can you grab some extra pencils?
Sure.
This month we need maybe it be feminine products, or maybe it be socks or hats or whatever it might be. And so throughout the year they're featuring that product, and we were able to fill 370 boxes this year. And the first year we did it, we were thrilled that we had 50.
Exactly.
We have 50 boxes, and
That's
we all
incredible.
It's like going back to the first live nativity, right?
Yeah.
It's like, hey, this is great.
Yep.
And now you look at it. It's...
I used to deliver them in my van. The van I have, and I was looking at the stack this year, and I was like, that's not going in the van.
It's not going in the van. Not happening.
And so we had to we got a cargo trailer and loaded up the cargo trailer and took them up, and
That's
we
wonderful.
thought, man, I wonder what it takes. Maybe we should be a distribution center.
Exactly, distribution. There you go.
That's great.
So that's neat that's going on.
And then Christmas Eve's coming up. What's going on the rest of the month?
Yeah, so every single year we have a Christmas Eve service that my wife just pours her life into. She just does a fantastic job. This year, Christmas is on Sunday. And so we, with all the things that we do, we did decide not to have our Christmas Eve service, because that would be Saturday night, and because Christmas Eve is more than just a few songs and lighting a candle for us. It's actually a pretty involved production. And so this year we did decide not to do a Christmas Eve service. And boy, when we made that decision, we felt like somebody had ripped something, but we knew it was the right thing to do for our people, just for their time and all that. But it's still something real near and dear. So this year we don't have anything like that going on, but we are having our regular service on Sunday morning, and we're really excited about that. You don't get to do that very often.
No.
Every 7 years?
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to being able to do that.
All right, let's recap A Night in Bethlehem. It's a live nativity going on Friday, December 2nd, Saturday, December 3rd, between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. Phil, what do you want people to know or take away?
please just come and enjoy the experience of seeing this depiction. Of course, people have put a lot of work into it, but really what our hope is that somebody can just come through and for just a few moments can kind of get a grasp on what we feel is the true focus of this time of year.
And there's a real camel.
There's a real camel.
There's
real horses. There's goats and chickens and ducks and people. There's real people.
There's real people.
Yeah.
All right.
The animatronics didn't work out.
Yeah,
No,
right.
they didn't. Sorry.
But the level of detail is incredible, and again, I think there are some folks feel that there are those that go in and they're looking at everything. Mm-hmm. They drive slow and they take in everything. There's others that I think start out by saying, this is just a nice thing to do, and as they get into it, I think it hits them, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
And that's
I think
special.
right. I think the casual driver by doesn't realize what they actually got in line for. And real quickly, I know you're running low, is that something else that my wife did, and this term is, if we take it literally, is there are Easter eggs throughout. The carpenter is building a cross. The stonemason is building a stone that can be rolled. So there's certain things like that you can look for and you can see as you're driving through.
Wow.
well done.
Yeah.
Well done. And that's why it's so
Extremely well
successful, because it's just well done.
Thank you.
It's in the
Pastor Phil,
details.
good to see you.
Yeah, it's nice to be here.
All right. Thank you.